What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and today we're going to be talking about some IndyCar. Oh yeah! Oh joy! Yeah! Haven't done a video for the last couple of races, largely just because of time, as I've mentioned. Kind of busy doing things right about now, but anyways, as for the Indy 500, everything went basically as normal, even though it was a totally unpredictable race and it was very abnormal in the way things played out, but there was no real surprises or shockers there, including Fernando Alonso's Honda engine blowing up. Sadly, I think everybody was unhappy with that result. Even if you're not like a Fernando Alonso fan, just like that finish and his engine going boom, it's just like there is no justice in the world, especially when Honda's guy, the guy that Honda has, forced upon the world of racing for years on end, finally ends up breaking through and atoning for 2012, where he threw away an Indy 500 victory, and Sato wins. Is just like, there is no justice in the world. Like, this is just not right. This is not fair at all. But it was a good solid race. But then again, the Indy 500 with the Delaware DW12, it hasn't mattered. Every single year has been an exciting race. I don't think there's been a race that's necessarily been an absolute barn burner, because it has been a little bit too much of a mess in terms of so much passing going on. But, good, solid, consistent races. Once again, no difference. As for Detroit, holy bejeebus, Graham Rahal, just totally emerging out of nowhere. Admittedly, he ended up finishing relatively well in the Indy Grand Prix earlier in the month of May. He ran well in the Indy 500, had an actual chance at being a contender up front. And I think he actually would have had a better chance than Helio Castroneves of beating Sato, given that he had Honda equipment, which Hondas at Indy just weren't going to be beaten. But, he had a flat tire in the Indy 500 that cost him. But, he had one of those days in Detroit, both days, both Saturday and Sunday in the doubleheader, where the car was absolutely hooked up. And once again, it's proven that he is one of those drivers that when things go right, when he has his day, when the car is right, he is absolutely blindingly fast. There is a reason why he won as a teenager in IndyCar so long ago. It seems like everybody's forgotten about that. But if they can have more of those days, and get Graham Rahal more of those cars, for whatever reason, whatever went right, give him that car. You gotta wonder, maybe the team is returning back to that 2015 form that they had, where Graham Rahal finished like third in the points with the clearly inferior that year Honda equipment, and honestly was driving well enough he could have won the championship. So if you're looking for a guy to keep your eyes on, as I've mentioned before on my Twitter feed, go ahead, pay attention to Graham Rahal, because he could be a serious threat for the championship. And at Texas, he had another good points day. So I'm just saying, don't count him out. Don't count him out. Plus, he's always exciting to watch, because he's going to do one of those things or another, and he's going to complain the whole time as well. Yeah! But speaking of complaining, now I'm going to do some complaining, because Texas was absolute garbage. Now, let me start by saying this. I love IndyCar oval racing. It's where the cars do belong on. I mean, the Indy 500 is the biggest race of the year by far. It's one of the greatest races in the world. It's why we have this series here today. Like, they have to race on ovals. Like, I want oval races. I enjoy watching them. I'm primarily a road racing guy, but like, it's in the blood of the series. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm also not one of these people who's all like, oh, well, it's so unsafe, they can't race on ovals, it shouldn't be done, it's just too dangerous, don't do it, just don't do it, nobody wants it. I'm not one of those guys. Like, I really am not. And I'll just go on the record here, because I know people are going to ask, well, what's the ideal IndyCar oval race look like for you? Fontana 2013. Seriously, one of the best oval races I've ever watched, bar none. Just absolutely fantastic. So go watch that race if you need a refresher. Is brilliant. As for the Texas race here in 2017, well, it was a multitude of issues. To get the cars to actually break up the pack racing, the tires have to wear, and Firestone, unfortunately, was put into a terrible situation. It's not often we talk about Firestone, because generally they do an absolutely fantastic job of building good, solid tires, and they're very rarely, if ever, the storyline, but this race was the exception, I guess. They did a test on the updated Texas Motor Speedway in April, and they found out that their tires were blistering within 10 laps. Obviously, you can't have that, because that's a serious issue, even though apparently the tires were still working properly. but that is definitely an issue. So they brought a new compound to the track for the race, and the tires didn't wear, and they were still blistering. Only this time that they were getting more into the run, they were doing 30 laps, 40 laps before the tire blistering started to become a serious issue. This is why Texas this year was a pack race. The tires just didn't wear, and that's going to be the only way that you're ever going to keep an Indy car from racing in a pack. The tire wear is crucial to break up the pack, because these cars, simply put, cannot produce too little downforce for a track like this. These are lightweight, purpose-built, open-wheel cars. They go around corners really fast, and especially if you have a lot of banking, they're going to go around even faster. So not only was it a pack race where nobody could actually fully complete a pass, there was a multitude of just boneheaded officiating moves. The tires were an issue the whole race. The tires had, severe issues. It is a safety issue. Elio Castroneves, he had a tire go down and he crashed into the wall because of it. Joseph Newgarden had to make an unscheduled pit stop because he was reporting a severe tire vibration. Both of them driving for Team Penske, mind you, worth noting. But, and then well after Elio's crash, there's the, 92 car pile up because Tony Kanaan decided to drive into the side of James Hinchcliffe and cause chaos for everyone behind him. It's just like, now all of a sudden they did this thing where it's like, oh yeah, we're only going to do 30 lap green flag runs at maximum on these tires because, the durability, and we got to make sure that the tires aren't blistering and all that stuff, because it is a safety issue. But it's like, well, by that point, the sun had set, the tires were now in a better condition because of the fact that the track temperature was cooler, the track had rubbered in, so the tires weren't going to be as prone to blistering. So if it was a safety issue, why are you now doing this, with 80 laps left in the race, somewhere thereabouts? Like, why are you now doing that? Whereas, why didn't you do that originally if it's such a safety issue? And I'll also say, where was that debris caution? There's a debris in turn 2 apparently reported, but it was never shown on the broadcast. And again, it just reeked of NASCAR. And God, no, don't do that. Just don't. On top of this, Tony Kanaan got a totally meaningless penalty applied to him. A drive-through stop and hold for like 20 seconds that should have put him out of the race, but with this new weird system of we're going to do competition cautions every 30 laps, the laps that he lost were going to be given back to him anyways. It was a totally meaningless, stupid penalty. Just, I mean, he deserved a penalty. He was driving like a bozo the whole night. He should have been parked, quite frankly. But to give him a penalty, but then give him a penalty that actually meant nothing because you were going to give him the laps back anyways, it's just, And then, of course, we get to the end and Takuma Sato does the Sato thing and he drives into the grass, which, why do we still have grass that close to the racing track on ovals? Like, I understand you need the grass for drainage purposes and everything like that, and that's why it's still there. But, like, can we add, like, paved runoff just for, like, 3 feet below the track surface and then put the grass there? I think that's a reasonable compromise. But, once that happens, you end up with a yellow with 5 laps to go. And then they say, we're not going to red flag this race to finish under a green flag condition, potentially. We're just going to finish the race out under yellow, because we don't have enough time to red flag the race and then go back to racing. But they did that last week at Detroit. Why? Now, I can understand why you would want to do this, because after all, with Texas being a pack race and doing, a NASCAR-style green-white checker, it's just like, it's not a good idea from a safety standpoint, and it's just like enough cars have been wrecked. We've seen enough carnage that just, whatever, let's just get out of there and carry on, be done with it. But at the same time, it just makes the officiating look totally freaking clueless, and that there is no standard and they're just winging it, flying by night, just making up the rules as they go because they don't have a clue. And that's something that has been an issue with IndyCar for 20 years. For more than 20 years. And it's just like, get your crap together. So yeah, I'm going to end the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.